But we do have, so going back to the transparency questions and the Brennan Center and your recent ethics report, first off, thank you, because you keep looking at the country and comparing New York to it, and it's so important to understand how we are, while we're struggling to get this done, we are really out of the norm of what much of the country is doing. So I will just lend my day for you as the question for you. So I started my day in a housing committee hearing where a housing bill was submitted by an upstate legislator that would only affect New York City, that we know was a copy of a bill pretty much submitted last year by a Democratic senator who was housing chair named Pedro Espada, who is happily not a colleague of ours here in the Senate anymore, but a specific lobbying organization went on. They didn't know they were going on record. They were being taped, and it was released, saying that they had, thank God for Pedro Espada, they had put all their money into him, but he left, so now they had to worry again. But he asked and said at this meeting, the executive director of the lobbying group, and now we emptied our piggy banks to make sure the Republicans deliver what we made sure Pedro took care of last time. And this same organization also was quoted in newspapers after the time of the coup as saying, well, we helped buy the coup also. Now, the group happens to be the RSA, the Rent Stabilization Association, so maybe they've made a couple mistakes by saying this so blatantly all over the place. But when I asked at the committee meeting this morning, who's lobbying for this bill, the sponsor refused to answer. Now, I had at least 15 memos of opposition to the bill, which I gave every person in the room. So I said, here are the people lobbying against it, but you won't even tell me who's lobbying for it, except the group who wrote the bill and is lobbying for it makes the mistake of being too public about this. So I use that as an example because it's a real-life example. It's fresh in my mind because it was this morning. Right. What do we need to do, Brennan Center, to have the right system that both prevents things like that from happening or forces really clear-cut rules about having to present who's doing what, who's paying the campaign funds, who's writing the legislation for someone, who's lobbying it through the houses, and does that tie in at all to also the question of whether somebody's got a conflict of interest in a second job.